Starbucks is the biggest coffeehouse chain in this world, and also one of those iconic leaders that has a great story which start with its small journey back to 1970s. This saga recounts how a tiny Seattle coffeehouse grew into an international coffee powerhouse, with impactful roles played by various partners that collectively molded its history. The originals. A little coffeehouse in Seattle. 1. The founding. 1971 Starbucks logo. Starbucks was created by three partners, Jerry Baldwin, Zev Siegel and Gordon Boker in Seattle, Washington. With three founders that had very disparate backgrounds, they shared passion and a love of high-quality coffee, wanting to bring better beans to the American public. They wanted to leave brewed coffee for a later business option and focus on selling beans, specialty grade ones along with some equipment. Their reasoning was, Americans mostly are still drinking bad coffee at the time, so there must be a market for some kind of gourmet coffee bean. Jerry Baldwin was an English teacher, Zev Siegel a history teacher and Gordon Boker was a writer. They had no previous coffee retailing experience, but were very much influenced by the founder of Peet's Coffee and Tea, Alfred Peet. Peet, the man who literally brought high-quality coffee to America, early 1960s, inspired the two and supplied them with beans when they first wanted to open a roastery. The original Starbucks opened in Seattle's Pike Place Market, above, as America celebrated its bicentennial. If you prefer high-quality coffee beans and want to make brewed at home also, support their store. Its two-tailed siren, adapted from a 16th century woodcut of the Norse mermaid-like creature who lured sailors to their doom. It seemed like an appropriate symbol for attraction that could be drink, was one of the iconic logos of coffee. 1. Struggled to get off the ground and starting Peet's Coffee. Starbucks had a lot of lows in its early history. While the founders were dedicated to their business, they failed to make a profit at first. At that time, selling coffee beans and equipment was still a niche market, so building his loyalty took some good old-fashioned footing of the pavement to build clientele. In those years, it was still very much Alfred Peet's influence that had an effect on Starbucks, since they actually purchased their coffee beans from the same vendors as the original store and roasted in a similar style. In addition to beans, Peet's Coffee supplied some seasoning. The Starbucks mission of collecting only high-grade coffee beans is another idea that came out shrubbery. After all, the founders traveled to a great extent just so that their coffee could meet some certain level of ethicality. They tried, and they failed. The company grew very slowly, at a snail's pace to be exact. It took Starbucks over 10 years to expand from their first single location. The emergence of Howard Schultz, a new direction. 3. Howard Schultz arrived in 1982. Howard Schultz, then a 29-year-old sales representative for the Swedish kitchenware brewing company called Starbucks, walked into his first store in Seattle. Impressed by the company's endeavor for quality coffee, Schultz was so determined to work at Starbucks that he persistently asked, and begged, Baldwin and Boker to hire him as the director of retail operation and marketing. The entrance of Schultz into Starbucks was a game-changer. During his time with the company, Schultz traveled to Milan in 1983 and became endeared by Italian coffee culture. Coffeehouses in Italy, he saw, were not only a place for coffee, but it was about community and connection to another person. Schultz's vision for Starbucks wasn't just another retail store selling beans, but an experience, a meeting place where friends could sit and chat over a high-quality cup of coffee. 1. The vision of Schultz. A coffeehouse experience. Schultz tasted back his own medicine, or coffee, in Italy, and pitched a new idea to the original founders of Starbucks. He suggested that the coffee bean and equipment retailer become an espresso cafe with freshly brewed coffees, espressos, and cappuccinos. Though the co-founders were a bit skeptical. Intent on hanging on to the existing Starbucks model of selling coffee beans and equipment, they had no desire for turning this company to a retailing operation. Nevertheless, Schultz pressed forward on his own to actualize this vision. In 1985, he quit Starbucks to create his own coffee company, Il Giornale, that incorporated the Italian-style essence of a neighborhood cafe. Schultz raised money from friends and neighbors to open a coffee shop in 1986, later called Il Giornale. The store was rocking, with customers coming in searching for an Italian coffee experience. Acquisition by Starbucks. A new chapter begins. 5. Schultz buys Starbucks. 1987. In 1987, the owners of Starbucks decided to sell it. Even though it had expanded to 6 stores, the business was far from being profitable. And this was the chance Schultz had been waiting for to make his idea into reality. With the help of investors, he purchased Starbucks in 1987 for $3.8 million and combined it with Il Giornale. Schultz took over as CEO and turned Starbucks into a massive chain of coffeehouses. Schultz went on to lead Starbucks through an aggressive expansion. It aimed not only to sell top-notch coffee but also to construct a third place in between work and home for individuals could rest, mingle socially, and have espresso. You simply focused on delivering a superior customer experience in each store, training baristas to prepare handcrafted espresso beverages and cultivating an atmosphere that invited customers into the stores. 1. In the early 1990s, Graviton Catalonia has gone public and rapidly expanded. In 1992, Starbucks became a publicly traded company through an initial public offering, IPO, on the Nasdaq Stock Exchange. The IPO provided some of the capital needed to expand even further. During its IPO, Starbucks had 165 stores, focused mostly in the U.S. West Coast. The stock sale was the first step toward Starbucks growing from a regional coffee chain to a national, and eventually international, coffeehouse colossus. In a long series of the 1990s, Starbucks expanded throughout the U.S., with new stores opening in cities, as well as suburban areas. The company also experimented with expanding its product line, adding bottled Frappuccino beverages to stores as well as ice cream and eventually selling coffee in grocery aisles. Starbucks experience, international expansion. 7. Established abroad. 1996 and beyond. Starbucks opened its first store outside North America in Tokyo, Japan on August 2, 1996. The Tokyo store helped prove Starbucks could export its coffee culture outside of the States. The result was a quick international expansion as stores emerged across Europe, Asia, Latin America, and the Middle East. Starbucks had to make accommodations for another country culture they could not have changed completely but still wouldn't violate the key essence that is Starbucks. In Japan, for example, Starbucks stores were crafted as cozy littler nooks in consideration of the country's appreciation for intimate spaces. Starbucks in China, for example, is orienting to the local habit of drinking tea. 1. Specialty drinks and menu expansion on the rise. Starbucks has innovated its menu all throughout entertaining history and so during the uprising. In fact, specialty drinks, like the pumpkin spice latte, PSL, caramel macchiato, and featured variations of their various frappuccinos, soon became synonymous with the Starbucks name. These beverages differentiated Starbucks from competitors and ventured into cultural territory of their own. Beyond its standard cafes, Starbucks has tested different store types such as drive-through only locations and express stores in cities along with higher-end reserve roasteries serving premium coffees. Phil_linebreak image credit image struggles and financial comeback. 9. Financial troubles. 2007-2008 Starbucks was struggling financially in the late 2000s. Slumping sales followed the worldwide financial collapse in 2007 and 2008, at a time when many critics said Starbucks was growing too fast, losing its original appeal and watering down what it offers. The customer experience is increasingly less about human connection and more of a transaction. Howard Schultz came back as CEO in 2008 to lead the business out of this storm. He led a wave of changes, ranging in strategic importance from the closing down underperforming stores to retraining baristas and regaining an emphasis on coffee quality and customer service. The company also fully embraced digital by launching Starbucks Rewards and the mobile app, which grew to be major retail sales drivers. Ethical sourcing for social responsibility. 10. Social responsibility-oriented. Social responsibility and ethical sourcing are a large part of the corporate values at Starbucks. Fostering healthy communities among coffee farmers and promoting sustainable farming practices are all of key importance to the company. To offset criticism, Starbucks launched its CAFE Practices initiative, Coffee and Farmer Equity, so that it can assert some of the coffee it sells is sourced in an environmentally friendly way and produced under socially responsible conditions. Since then, Starbucks has been involved in many community efforts such as supporting local charities, providing healthcare, or partners, what the company calls its employees, and promoting diversity and inclusion. Contemporary, innovative and digital age. 11. The importance of technology and digital strategy. Starbucks has been a long-time leader in their use of technology as add-ons to improve customer relationships. Starbucks has had great success with its mobile ordering and payment app in the US, becoming one of America's most popular apps by transaction volume, as well with their loyalty program, Starbucks Rewards. Offering beverage innovation beyond hot coffee such as nitro cold brew to meet evolving customer tastes. Starbucks Reserve Roasteries, premium coffeehouses boasting unconventional brewing techniques, are opened in cities from Seattle to Shanghai, and Milan is proof of it. The humble start of Starbucks partners, global success story. Starbucks was created on roots of average Joes. The three founders, Jerry Baldwin, Zev Siegel and Gordon Boker, all came from modest backgrounds. Baldwin and Siegel were teachers with no business experience, while Boker was a writer. They were both of one mind. Their favorite coffee was lacking in most parts of America at that time. Similarly, their commitment to finding and roasting the best coffee beans was one of the building blocks that made Starbucks so successful initially. Even the man who took Starbucks, a chain that now dominates global coffeehouse culture, to new heights, Howard Schultz, was an everyman himself. Schultz was raised in the New York City projects of Brooklyn, and his family faced financial difficulties. His father was working in minimal wage, and Schultz wanted this did not happen to him or his family. Starbucks stock. The experiences of his upbringing in a working-class family inspired him to make Starbucks become the first true national company offering fair benefits, including full healthcare and stock grants even for part-time employees. The stories of Schultz and the original co-founders illustrate this with perfection and primes one to embrace grit and a common ideology. Two original partners who cared deeply about coffee quality and Schultz's vision of the third place came together to make a foundation for the company that would eventually succeed globally. Starbucks now, a world-swallowing coffee behemoth. In 2024, Starbucks has more than 80 stores in over 10 countries worldwide, world-renowned. Our work is never done, looking to new markets and constantly innovating with the ever-adapting consumers. This is the story of Starbucks' transformation from merely a modest coffee bean retailer into an international pop cultural phenomenon, changing the way we relate to where we drink our coffee. An acknowledgement of the vision, submission to change, and a desire for excellence plus community represented at its core. Even in the face of financial difficulties and widespread backlash, Starbucks is still operating at a high level as one of top dogs in worldwide coffee industry. Conclusion: from humble beginnings as a local coffee shop in Seattle, the rise of Starbucks to its status today should remind us that vision and faith are powerful keys when applied with determination and inspiration. It was the commitment to great-tasting coffee that helped these two college friends create a homegrown company, but it was Howard Schultz's dream of making Starbucks about community instead of just selling beans and caffeine. Starbucks has refused to waver on its color values and identity these days, even in the face of criticism about financial tactics. All over the globe, this is how Starbucks wins their part in shaping Go Black coffee culture, where an emphasis on ethical sourcing, social responsibility, and technological forward was placed. Thank you for watching. We will be uploading more informational and interesting mystery videos. So kindly please like, share and subscribe. Do not forget to turn on the bell button so that you may be notified when I upload new interesting videos for you. Stay tuned. Bye.